Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
We're going streaking!
Dave's Video Graveyard.
That guy in little clothes. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm not a smart man.
Shut up!
One tubby.
What's wrong with him?
My first thought would be alive.
Why so serious?
Wise man say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hey, Ma! The meatloaf! We want it now! The meatloaf!
Of all the radio shows in the world, this is definitely one of them. Dave's Video Graveyard on 100.5 WOWFM.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call the president.
It is 100.5 WOWFM, Dave's Video Graveyard for your Monday night. An absolute pleasure to be with you. Paulie, how you doing, man?
Good. My phone is on silent now.
Lucky I checked. How's your week been, man? Much happening in movies?
No, I revisited a movie I haven't seen for ages with No Country for Old Men. And you know what? I finally watched Django Unchained the whole way through. Because I'd never seen it the whole way through. For some reason, when I first watched it, when it first came out, I was just like, eh.
And what did you think?
It's long.
Yeah.
It's problematic.
It is. And Tarantino has done his time for that.
It's tough to watch.
My biggest issue has always been, and it's such a pedantic wank of a thing, which, believe it or not, coming from me.
Is the soundtrack?
No. There is a bit right at the end where Walton Goggins is downstairs and they've got Django cornered upstairs.
Yep.
And he says, basically, time to come out, Django. And he says the D is silent. At what point did Walton Goggins read his name written to get it wrong? That is my only issue with that entire film. And
that
luckily,
makes you like a very weird person. That's your only issue with that movie.
As of about 2 weeks ago, luckily things turned out okay. It was almost going to be thrown into the problematic pile because of John Jarratt. But luckily, things turned out. I revisited this week the film Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
Okay, cool.
It is so bad. It has all the...
I started watching also, there's a new show that came out called The Boys. Have you heard of The Boys?
You have talked about the comic every chance you've ever got, ever.
This is basically, it's so good that this came out just after Endgame because it just is the biggest middle finger to superheroes that you could ever think of. Basically, it exists in a world where the superheroes are owned by like a Disney-esque type of company, and they not only save people's lives and all that stuff, but they also they do advertising, they do movies and lots of stuff. There's collateral damage when they injure civilians, and when that happens, the boys come in, and they're the people that they keep the superheroes in line, and it is so violent.
Yeah, right.
But so funny, and also really, really well done.
Did I hear Carl Urban's in that?
He is. He plays the main dude.
I'm on board.
Yeah, it is so good. So if you get a chance, definitely find it. The Boys is so good.
And just quickly, in new trailers, there wasn't that much that caught my attention this week. Obviously, last week being San Diego Comic-Con, we got it all out of our system except for the Red streaming services Rocco's Modern Life movie.
I saw that, yeah.
I'm on board.
Look, I'm on board.
Believe it or not,
anything from,
don't die of shock.
anything that from Nick and Knight, bring it back. So.
Now, the reason we are gathered here this evening, it is time for another guest choice special, and we are joined by a very petite, small guest, and I think possibly we could add him to the list of guests I could beat in a fight easily if it was opposite day. We are joined by the king of the circus, Jordan Biggie Steffens. How you doing, mate?
Gentlemen, thank you much for having me here. Mate, I've had a ball already just listening to you guys, and the entrance to this was just absolutely awesome. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Now, for those who don't know, you are the first... Well, you are a strongman, a professional strongman.
He is your opposite in every single way.
We are destined to be enemies, but moving right along.
We'll start as brothers and then work our way to enemy. How's that
I'm
sound?
sure we eat similar.
I reckon we both eat a hell of a lot of whatever it is.
That's right. Quantity makes quality in my book.
You got it, man. You got it.
You have spent over 12 years as a strongman.
Mm-hmm.
I guess before I get you to explain what a strongman is, I really need to ask the question, how much of the day are you sore? And like,
well, it's funny, you know what? I actually get that question a fair bit. It's more about, you know, where do you feel sore and how often, I guess. But you know what? You know you've worked out hard is when you go to get out of bed in the morning, you have to pull yourself over onto your side just to move.
Oh, I was with you until you said on your side, because I was like, I do that every morning.
And then as soon as your feet hit the ground, it's pain straight away. That's when you know you've worked out hard.
Maybe I am a strong man.
There you go. Just deep down inside.
No, because you're lifting your phone in one hand and Doritos in the other. That's
Wait,
not
it's
working
because
out.
I fall asleep in a beanbag that I'm sore. That's different. So you have one of the most interesting, I guess you'd say, resumes of what you've achieved. Without, stay humble, but tell us what you've done.
Yeah, look, that's actually quite a... I don't really like talking about what I've done through my career. I've been just very, very lucky to have so many great opportunities to compete all around the world with some of the best athletes in the world. You know, as a kid, I started wrestling when I was 13 years old and went through amateur wrestling, like Olympic wrestling, for a few years, won state titles and national titles with that. Moved into weightlifting, where I was so lucky to represent Australia multiple times at a world level. Went through into strongman and turned professional at 21 years old. So I'm actually the youngest ever professional strongman in Australia when I was 21.
Wow.
And yeah, just had so many great opportunities as a young lad to compete against, like I said, the best in the world, and then followed through into recent times and now, you know, doing more of the show style stuff.
Jumping back to the year 2015, it was a great year for film, but you went to the Adelaide Fitness Expo where you carried 610 kilos, which is the most weight carried by a human on Australia's soil. Is that a record that stands still today?
Yeah, no one's actually beaten that record. A good friend of mine who was actually on Australia's Got Talent tonight in Sydney, a good friend of mine, his name's Eddie Williams. He's actually the current Australia's strongest man.
Friend of the show now.
Yeah, absolutely. I might need to get Big Eddie over here one day, actually.
Definitely.
If you mention on the show, he's a friend of the show.
Yeah, he did 600. He did 600 kilos, and I think he carried it about 3 meters. So my record was 610.
Did you just text him and say, pussy?
Eddie's a big Islander guy. He might actually eat
Well, I'm
me,
calling
so
him out.
Yeah.
He's
You can call him out all by yourself,
He's
man.
in another state, isn't he?
I hope so.
I'm calling you out, Eddie.
If that was my friend, which it would never be, I would spend every day just sending a photo of you holding up a 10-kilo weight. And be like, is this yours? I'm pretty sure you forgot this. Is this yours?
I'm just baiting him then into doing it, I reckon. But he's probably been the closest guy to taking that record. And look, I think he will one day. He's a great guy and a very, very good friend of mine. And I wouldn't be too sad to see it go because it's been a few years that record's been there. So I think it's ready to go.
Okay.
Now, if I saw 155-ton steam train, I would automatically think it's time to watch Back to the Future 3. But Biggie here has a different idea when it comes to massive trains. You've pulled trains.
Yeah, so that was one of the things, I guess, I tried to... I'm very big on paying homage to history and that type of stuff. So a lot of the guys that have been my mentors and heroes and peers over the time have done all these big super events. So a good friend of mine, his name's Commander Grant Edwards with the Australian Federal Police. He pulled a steam train back in the 97, which was 201 tonnes, which, again, I actually did 203 tonnes this year with Steam Ranger. And, you know, these type of events that he did are the things I watched as a young kid and the things I wanted to replicate when I grew up. And, you know, when I went to pull the train, I actually rang Grant 3 months beforehand and said, look, Grant, do you mind if I attempt your world record? And he said, no, it'd be an honour. You know, so for me, it's not just about getting records and stuff like that, but it's to just pay homage to the guys that were around before me, because without them, I wouldn't be here. You know, there's a whole lot of guys that came before me that did a whole lot of stuff that people don't really pay that much respect to him. So I try.
Excellent.
Being that you your website, kingofthecircus.com.au, you call yourself King of the Circus, or it's the title you go by. Do you stay really true to your roots, and do you lift nothing but triangle weights and like kettlebells and stuff? Or
You know what?
do you ride a penny farthing that's an exercise bike?
I don't ride a penny farthing.
You're
but
rocking the mustache of like an old man's old-timey
I was waiting for
weightlifter.
someone to notice that. Like,
Hello, Barnabas.
the Mo goes one of two ways. The Mo goes circus style or goes 70 porn style. One of the two, man.
That was going to be the next break.
Yeah, I was going to say that's usually the next one, but I don't ride a penny farthing. But I have a 1931 Cadillac, so
Oh, right.
Very nice.
that sort of fits that style a bit, I guess.
Please tell me you pull up every time something happens unfortunate at a local weight event and just go, meow.
I'm going to do that and send a video in for him and just pull it out.
Can't beat my record, you see. Meow.
Eddie, 10 kilos.
Is 600 more than 610? I didn't bring my abacus. No, but honestly, you've had such an amazing career so far, and you're only just 12 years young into it. What are you where are you going from here?
Look, I guess for me, I'm coming. I wouldn't say I'm coming to the end of my competitive career. I've started when I was 15, so I'm almost 30 now. So it's actually coming up on 15 years of competitive strength sports. So it's a long time to be doing this sport because I started so young. So I guess for me is I want to do the sport now to help and give back. So all these big super events I do, I try and involve charities and helping as many people as humanly possible. The competitive side of me, I guess, is almost not gone, but it's not as strong as it used to be, no pun intended. It's just one of those things where I think you get to a point in your career and go, you know what, I've done well, I'm happy. I retired from competitive Olympic weightlifting in Russia when I got silver last year, and getting gold the year before was just something I would have never have dreamed of. So for me to retire from Olympic weightlifting in a country where the sport is the biggest thing going, you can't walk down the street in Russia. Their weightlifters are just...
That's just because of the stray dogs.
Oh, it's ridiculous. The first year I went to Moscow, the competition had finished. The crowd rushed the stage. They jumped past security. They rushed to get photos with their Russian weightlifting. Like, it was ridiculous.
It was like the end of Alien versus Predator. You had to fight everyone in the auditorium.
Oh,
it's like you've won the medal now, but totally. To get it home, you have to fight everyone here.
And you're punching through Russians, man, which ain't what you think is normal, man. It's hard. The women, man, will bash me. So.
Having said that, though, but if you had like let's say an Ivan Drago sort of come up and just say it's like one more time. You or me?
Break you.
Yeah.
No.
Would you Rocky it? Would you Rocky 3?
Oh, mate, I won't back down from anybody.
Excellent. Get Dolph on the line.
Have you ever considered in your 12-year career as a professional strongman of using your powers for evil? Because I tell you what, if I had your skill set, there would be a lot of small inconveniences solved with people's cars getting flipped on top of up on their roof. It'd just be like, why is it every time we upset Jordan, our car rolls over? It's so bizarre.
He puts it like as a Mentos
ad. And another old-fashioned detective's like, I don't know what's going on here.
Oh, that's funny. All I can just picture is the old school bobbies from the English cartoon coming past right there.
We just can't solve who keeps flipping this car. They ran out of protein powder at this stop, and now their van's on its roof. So I guess without being too rude, I need to ask, how do you eat, man? Like, what's a typical week look like for you when it comes to the food?
Well, honestly, just before I got here, I ate a full pizza on the way here, but that's just between us three.
You're bragging to the wrong person.
Yeah. So look, but I guess when I was really competitive, when I was about 145 kilos, I'd eat every 2 hours. So what you guys would have for a normal meal, I'd eat every 2 hours, and okay. I mean religiously every 2 hours. So I'd wake up at, because I was doing security work.
Just because you dress up as a pope doesn't mean it's religiously eating.
Thank God I'm not the pope. I'd wake up at 10, breakfast, 12, meal, 2, meal, train, 3 till, 7, somewhere in between there. I'd probably eat a little bit while I'm training. Yeah. And I'd eat straight after training. Then I'd eat every 2 hours after that.
Is it all protein, or is it's anything.
Literally, like I said, what you'd sit down and have for dinner, your rice, your eggs, your whatever, I'd eat it.
Pizza.
Eat it every couple of hours, pizza, whatever. I'd make my own. Like, I'm big on making my own stuff like that. Like, if you want to make a burger, I'd rather go to, like, a fish and chip shop and get a burger than go to Macca's. Or go and just get the biggest amount of meat, make a burger that's 10 foot tall, and eat that type of thing, you know. And, again, I wasn't eating that clean as well, so, you know, the fast food was there.
So competitive eating could be
Is that phase 2? Have you seen the guys that win those things? They are smaller than my forearm.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
They literally just open their throat and down it goes.
Yeah, just like Dave.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no, wait, that's another thing.
I'm an amateur eater, okay? I'm a bare knuckle eater. I'm not a professional eater. I'm a bare knuckle eater.
Mate, that's fairly big these days, is eating competitions. I see them all around Adelaide.
Well, that's like that Kobayashi guy that won the entire 1990s with the hot dog eating because he's the first guy that figured out you dip the bun in water.
Yeah.
But he is, like you say, he's literally the size of my fingers.
It's ridiculous, man. They just starve themselves, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Binge and purge. Now, this evening we're going to be going through 10 of your all-time favourite films. I feel like perhaps someone's in the mafia.
Or wants to be. Or saw one of the movies and go, nah, probably not.
Because I started looking up all the films on your list and I just got a notification from the police saying, nice try.
I grew up with interesting people when I was a kid at school. Let's just go with that.
That's it. This is DVG as we get into the music, talking about movies. 100.5 WOW FM, Dave's Video Graveyard. We are joined by Jordan Biggie Steffens, the local strongman, king of the circus. We are talking about his 10 favourite films of all time, and what a better way to start than the archetype of mafia films from 1972. We are talking about The Godfather. Biggie, why did you pick this film?
I just love old school movies. Like, this one's just cool to me. I just think the style of the movie was awesome. The story behind it is just cool. Marlon Brando, I think, is awesome. It's just one of those movies. Al Pacino is just probably my favourite actor.
Yeah.
Like, I just think he's just so good at everything he does.
Is this your favourite Pacino film?
Other than Jack and Jill?
Because mine is Heat.
It does come
good
up.
movie.
Pacino in Heat.
Yeah.
The bit where he's talking to Tone Loc. Like, Tone Loc is, like, generally scared of Al Pacino's performance in that bit.
Ace Ventura 1's Tone Loc,
Yes. Funky called Medina Tone Loc was in Heat.
Yeah, I know, he was also in Blank Check. Both great movies. Same scale.
Oh, they shoot your doggy.
This is one of those films, we talk about them a lot on the show. We call them a game changer. It's where, you know, the likes of Jaws came out and all of a sudden it changed the way creature features were presented to the world. The Godfather, it is your go-to mafia movie, but
when
man,
did you first see it? Like, what was your...
I was quite a young kid. My brother's about 7.5 years older than me.
Okay.
So he was watching it. He had it on VHS.
Okay.
So I used to sneak down and try and watch it. So I was very, very young at the time. And it was like a 3-hour-long movie. So I'd only see snippets of it. But the older I got, the more I got to know about the movie and the more I got to know about the behind the scenes of the movie.
Yeah.
Like how connected the mob actually was with making that movie. Joe Colombo, the guy that started the Italian rights, was a member of the Five Families of New York and one of the main bosses, and put these guys on notice about the way the movie was set up. It's just amazing how real life plays off in a movie that's based on them.
My favourite, every time I watch it, just Luca Brasi, Don Corleone, I'm so glad you have invited me to your home. He's just practicing over and over and over again when he's like going to go in and ask him for the favour.
And it's amazing because that guy was a gangster. He was pulled in by Joe.
Freddie Montana or something like that.
He was a boxer for the Colombo family. And Joe put him in there as one of the guys. It's just amazing.
And he gets garroted so bad.
Oh, yeah. He's hating life, man. He's hating life.
Yeah, that bit, the cannoli bit. Like,
well, I'm a massive cannoli fan too.
So you would take the cannolis?
I like to call myself a cannoli connoisseur. That's what I like to call myself. You know, if I wasn't a strong man, that's what I'd be.
You can't see, but he's twirling his mustache. I don't know what that means.
no doubt, buy cannolis and then murder someone in the front seat and make sure you still keep
Just
the
for
cannolis.
the kicks, man, you know what I mean?
I'm still generally, not surprised, but I can never find the beat where Duval gets shot. Yeah, at the is it Duval gets? Yeah, Duval gets shot at the crossing where he gets machine gun. Like everyone pops out from everywhere.
Yeah,
that
Sonny,
scene that's been satirized.
Sonny,
yeah. Sorry, James Caan. James Caan. Sorry. There's a bit. I'm like, it's coming. Oh no, maybe it's another bit. I'm like, oh no, there it is, and he gets shot so badly, like shot to shit.
Oh yeah.
It's just it's very it's a long watch, but it's a fun watch.
It's a very in-your-face type movie, especially for those times as well. Like, you know, you had the Scarface movies, the Al Capone ones earlier than that.
Yeah.
But this one was just different to all of those ones as well. This was that real, just, I guess, more of a, how do I put it? It's just a very different style to the old Scarface movies.
It's a slow burn because there's a lot of, like, this is one of those films where, like, I got introduced to it late, but I never started watching it at the right kind of time, and I was constantly falling asleep, not as a reflection of the film, but just because of the way it's set up. Like, it almost has that sense of dread that you get from a lot of sci-fi of the 70s.
I'll do an intermission when he's in the orange grove.
It is one of those movies that you need an intermission. You seriously do, just to go, holy moly, what have I just watched, and what am I going to next see?
I would say it's like for like if you wanted a modern equivalent, like if you see a bunch of like the true crime movies, but then you watch Zodiac, and Zodiac's like well researched, well done. Like, it's a 3-hour movie, but it's so well you don't even sort of notice that this is like any other sort of true mafia movie sort of pales in comparison to this one because of the research and because of the performances and because it's just so well done. I do prefer Godfather 2 more, but
I love all three, man. And we were chatting about it before that not many people like the number 3. I love number 3. I think number 1 is the best. I think number 3 is second best. I think number 2 is the third best. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
They're all good though. I think they're all great.
Yeah.
That's just me though.
Just to ruin
I'm not going to argue with me because you're going to just punch me into oblivion.
You can't reach me from here, so I'm going to ask you the following question. Have you seen Mafia, the movie?
Oh, the rip-off one? How good is that movie? That movie.
I love it. And when, like, with the likes, I bring it up all the time, but with the likes of Hot Shots and movies that, if a parody is done well, even Scary Movie, like the first 3 of them, if it's executed well, a good parody makes me enjoy the source material even more. And the way they handle The Godfather... I
can't watch Signs because of Scary Movie 3. Just like the
dogs are acting funny. The scene where Lloyd Bridges gets the orange stuck in his teeth, like in The Godfather.
That was exactly what I was thinking.
It's what I picture in my head as soon as I said it. But more so, there's just a bit where Jay Moore is like, it's more so the casino part, but when he's fighting with his wife at the time, and she's throwing all the like crystalware at him and it smashes, and she runs out of stuff to throw, so she throws the chihuahua and it smashes on the wall behind her. And it changed my life, how funny I thought that stupid part. But I love that movie as well. And it's really awesome that you don't hate me for asking that.
Oh, no, movie's
and you can't reach me, so suck it. Moving on to the next film. It is a...
We should have a new segment.
This needs its own intro.
Everyone picks Goodfellas.
Really?
We've had about 50 guest choice specials over the time that we've been running. This would be 45 times this film has come up.
Wow,
we are talking about 1990s Goodfellas.
Goodfellas is great.
Why did you pick Goodfellas?
Oh, Goodfellas is just a great lineup of, like, look at the actors. Just look at it. To be honest, you look at the actors that are the main ones. So you got De Niro. Then you've obviously got Pesci,
and Ray Liotta.
Ray Liotta as well. But then you look at the other cast. Most of those guys went through into Sopranos.
Yeah.
Like, you've got all these guys coming through who are great actors in this that come into movies and TV shows further down the line. I just think it was just a cool way to set up a great story that was told the whole way through of something that actually happened.
Yep.
And I just think Pesci is hilarious. I think he's great. When he's taking the piss out of Ray Liotta in the bar going, you think I'm funny how? And then just pulls him back in straight away.
That straight up won the Oscar for him. That scene It changed.
I
Joe
think the
Pesci.
scene where he shoots at who will be the Sopranos dude, like
I was gonna say-
Michael,
Chris Montesardi when he shoots him.
It's-
Dance! Dance the drink back.
I wanted to go to that evening with the Sopranos just to talk about Goodfellas.
my brother went to that, man.
Yeah.
I picked him up after he's gone, I'm surprised you didn't go. I said, I didn't know there was tickets left.
Oh,
my
man,
God.
this film is one of those ones where if I'm changing through the channel, it doesn't matter what time. So I've got to get up at 5 a.m. and I'm changing through at 11 o'clock at night, going, I'm up way too late, and I click, and it's early on in Goodfellas. I'm not going to bed until the final.
I did that
credits.
recently, and my wife's like, "No, we're not watching the end of this again." I'm like, "Come on!" It's like every time we do, we have to
Nothing is better than a Sunday night staying up way too late watching a movie because it doesn't catch you till about Wednesday. And then come Wednesday, you're like, I think I'm really sick. I don't know what's wrong. Oh, that's right. I went to bed at like 1:30 on Monday because I watched. But for me, it's a lot lower bar. It's like I watched Airplane because it was on free-to-air TV.
I watch Airbuzz too.
I watched Undercover Brother, and now I'm really
Oh my
tired.
lord! What's your favorite scene?
My favourite scene. You know
Mine
what?
changes each show, so
Yeah, you know what? It's
Mine
funny.
stays the same.
I'm funny. There's loads of different scenes that's really good. Like obviously where he's giving him shit about obviously being a policeman or being a cop. Then there was the other one when he's walking sort of into like through the backs when he's really young, when his misses all the way
one big one
through.
shot.
Or when Pesci gets killed.
Yes. Yep.
When they walk him in and he works out the last second. Oh, bang! Right in the back of the head, and it just cuts.
That's Paul's second most chosen. His first most chosen. I'm guessing it's the helicopter, the coked out helicopter scene.
Oh yeah, that's
like that entire
mad.
thing. But now my favorite part of that is when Karen flushes the drugs down the toilet. And then Ray Liotta's like, Karen! It just cracks me. It's really sad because they're like really coked up. It's really funny though.
I'm not massively into firearms at all, but the first time I went to Marksman's and shot one, all I could think about was like, oh man, I'd really like to cave someone's face in with the butt of it. Like, it's not the
when he
shit, because
caves
that
in
is
that
my
young dude's
favourite
head.
part of the movie.
Or Robert De Niro when he turns out when he's got the gun and he can't get the nozzle in there anymore because he's too coked out and he's got the wrong one.
Yeah.
It's turning your mind to mush and then he takes it out and then closes the door.
I also like it, like one of the best scenes for De Niro in that movie is when he gets told that Pesci's dead. And then, because the way they tell him, but the way they tell him is like, I didn't work out.
What do you mean didn't work out?
It just didn't work out. And he's just like, and he breaks the phone and it's just like,
Some real grills bullshit.
But the real tough guy, like he's got tears and stuff, and he's just like, and it's really decent. Like just the performance is amazing.
We always bring up every time we talk about it, so we might as well stick with tradition. When De Niro's trying to get Henry's wife,
Karen,
Karen, to come down to see the dresses.
Oh man,
such an intense scene because you don't know what's going on. It never tells you what was going to happen, but it just anything that leaves it to your own imagination, you can make it so much worse.
I've seen so many docos on Henry Hill talking about his life after how he knows that they tried to kill her because they know that once he flipped.
But Henry Hill didn't do well for himself. Like he was like, oh
man, he ruined himself.
He got kicked out of police protection. And have you ever seen My Blue Heaven?
No.
There was another film made about the story of Henry Hill, and it's actually a comedy with Rick Moranis and Steve Martin. It is insane.
I'm putting this one down on the watch. My Blue Heaven, done.
Do you love all the works of Scorsese? So the likes of one of my favourite films of all time is The Departed.
I was just about to say Departed is a great movie. I didn't put it on the list, but it's up there. It's a great movie. Just a back and forth between what you don't even know. You think you lose reality almost at some point going, what side am I meant to believe?
And also convincing my wife that it had a happy ending was my favourite thing to do. She's like, this is going to be good. He's going to get him.
Watching DiCaprio in Django, he spent a lot of time with Jack Nicholson, I think, because like, he's slowly turning into Jack Nicholson.
Definitely.
Like, he's got, like, his burst of anger is heaps Nicholson. It's just,
We need another Nicholson.
I think if you're going to find one, it will be DiCaprio. Like, a lot of people would think that he's going to, like, he isn't the new Nicholson, I think, in his later years.
100.5 WOW FM. This is Dave's Video Graveyard as we continue through the guest choice special here of one Jordan Biggie Steffens, and he has picked a film that we almost researched the wrong film. We are talking about 2017's Darkest Hour. Now, I was telling you before we started this evening, this film came up at work in the most awkward way when one of the other guys said, "Have you seen Darkest Hour?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it wasn't too bad." He goes, "It was unbelievable." I'm like, "Oh yeah, it was okay." And he goes, Gary Oldman was unbelievable in it. At which point I'm like, I didn't even know it was Gary Oldman in it, because I was talking about the horror film The Darkest Hour, where they're in Russia fighting against light globe electricity monsters. We are talking about the biodrama from 2017 starring Gary Oldman, Darkest Hour. Why did you pick this film?
I'm a massive fan of Winston Churchill. I'm a bit of a history nerd when it comes to certain stuff. Like, I love history.
Every time you say you're a massive fan of something, you don't have to brag, all right? We get it. You're
okay,
big.
Look, I'm just a nerd, all right?
Start saying I'm a muscly fan of.
I'm a mini nerd of something. I love Winston Churchill's style. I love the way he stood up for a country that he loved and cared about. He had a pretty shoddy start to his career as in the military and in politics from his father, but it takes a very different type of person to be a prime minister in normal time, and it takes a very different type of prime minister in wartime. And he gave that stiff upper lip, that love for his country. He had to make some of the hardest decisions to sacrifice people to save more people. He did some wonderful things, and I think this movie was just such an awesome overview of his life in the war times. And I just think it was a great movie to overshow Winston Churchill. Really, I just think it was great the whole way through.
Yeah,
loved it.
Now, are you a fan of streaming services, or do you still buy DVDs? Like, what did you go see this at the cinemas?
Saw this one at the cinemas.
Yep.
Bought on DVD.
Nice.
Cinemas are okay if the seats are big enough, but seats suck. So I tend to enjoy just watching them on my couch at home.
And how many times do you reckon you've revisited this one? Is this one that you...
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, oh, yeah, this is one I've watched a few times. This is one of those ones that I actually like to watch sort of just as a motivational type thing. Just you sit back and just go, wow, my life isn't that bad. My life isn't that hard. Decisions I make affect my life and obviously a few others, but a decision like this made by one person affects the whole free world. So
see, this draws the line where we're very different people, because I'm a meme of a person and you're a motivational poster of a person. Because the closest I've had to what you just described, it's so sad. It's Howard Stern's Private Parts film, where he's just an offensive shock jock, and it's the story of him. I'm like, yeah, that could be me. Whereas you're like shooting for Winston Churchill levels of greatness. I'm like, damn it. I'm just like, I'm still stoked when I go to like a takeaway place and they give me 2 lots of knives and forks. I'm like, I'm doing pretty okay. No. They think this is for 2 people.
I'd take that as well, man. There's nothing wrong with that, man. I'd take 2 knives and forks,
Do you ever get 2 meals and get 2 different drinks to make it look like it's for 2 different people's? Because I know a guy that does that.
No comment.
Or when they ask if you want to upsize or something, you go, oh, what did they say? Yes.
Yeah. Or they look at you while you get a Diet Coke and you're like, what? What? Come on.
A good friend of ours, Halpo, he says for the kids after he orders something and he doesn't have any children. He orders what he wants and goes, and the kids will have 10 nuggets.
I'm using that next time. That is fantastic.
It just makes you feel better. And if you call something a cheeky snack instead of like a 3-piece feed, you don't feel as guilty inside. You're like, just a cheeky. You put the word cheeky in and you're fine.
Kind of like massive fan type thing, right? Yeah, right.
Muscly fan. Now, you've picked another biopic, and it is with a man that I have tattooed on my body. John C. Reilly's turn in the story of Stan and Ollie, the story of Laurel and Hardy. Tell us why you picked this film.
I guess again, same as the other one where I'm into older style movies and that type of stuff. When I mean older style movies, like older style characters and stuff like that, I grew up with my...
Did you ride your penny farthing to see this? And there was a live piano playing or a gramophone playing the music?
I really should have taken the Cadillac along to that, man. I really should have actually done that. I should have taken the Cadillac to the drive-in and seen it, to be honest with you. But I didn't. But I love it because my grandparents used to have this on VHS, and I've still got all the Stan Ollie VHSs. I've got all the Three Stooges, the Charlie Chaplins, all of those ones. I've got them all on VHS. And when this one came out, I was like, you know what? Do I go see it? Do I not go see it? I went, you know what? I'm going to go see it. And I went to the Capri Theatre, where it's a very old-style theatre, and watched it. Yeah. And it was not what I expected at all, but it was just so much better. I went and saw it twice there. I got it on DVD when it came out.
Yeah.
Like, that was the type of movie I thought of it. And I sat back as wanting to be a strength athlete performer, like I'm wanting to turn into with the circus stuff, looking at these guys as heroes and motivations to me. So what I have to do to be on stage and to be, looked at and perform. Because these guys are the pinnacle of performing, They
had to work that much harder than performers today. Like, because usually it was the rehearsing was to a T, because you only had like one shot at most of these takes and all this stuff. And just like the physicality of it all.
Well, you can't compare. Like, you look at all the credence that's given to the likes of Daniel Day-Lewis, Tom Cruise, and that when they do like 1 out of 50 of their own stunts and things like that, or Daniel Day-Lewis sat in a wheelchair for the whole movie. It's like, cool, good job. Aren't you an actor? Isn't that what you do? Whereas these guys, and we spoke a lot about it when we're off air talking about like Buster Keaton and stuff. This was stage put to film. And they had to figure out what translates, what doesn't, and it's the birth of cinema.
And they talk about writing their own stuff, how the guys actually wrote their own stuff.
Yeah.
Like, Laurel was doing all that stuff behind the scenes, making the gags and all that type of stuff, and taking the falls and the hits, everything themselves, into their later lives.
And wasn't it a similar story to like Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, where they actually had a fallout like midway in their career, but then spent another like 20 years performing together.
Absolutely.
Putting the fact that they couldn't even talk to each other off stage. They just hide.
Have you tried to talk to Jerry Lewis?
Or Dean Martin drinking too much.
Yeah.
That's how Dean Martin did his best work.
He reminds me of like my drunk racist uncle. Just like put in a suit, and like he looks exactly like him. Just like you just imagine that's how he was the entire time.
Oh, the Rat Pack's awesome. I love the Rat Pack. I love Frank Sinatra.
I love old Hollywood. I like anything old Hollywood. So
absolutely.
this rang my bell too, which is really good. Like anything that's to do with old Hollywood. That's usually like there's some really bad stories that happen, like a lot of true crime, but back then, cause like this is back when there were the studios kind of owned the actors.
Yes,
and they had fixers in for like the biggest one is like Fatty Arbuckle and stuff like that. Yeah, it was such a decadent time for Hollywood.
It's essentially the Hollywood portrayed in Three Amigos. Like, the studio owned you.
It was back like in Hollywood. I think it was Hollywood Land back then. It was like it was insane. But this also ties in because like a lot of these performers did the stage tours to perform for troops and stuff like that. Like they did really well and very much needed at a time when the world was rebuilding. So
through wartime, pre-war, post-war, it's the time where these guys really needed to step up to give America something, or the world, not just the US,
they went
a lift in what they do.
Yep, no, definitely. Before we go to the next one, can I just ask you, because we'll talk a lot about your size and everything like that. How's the mental side of what you do, like to build yourself up to do the stuff? Because like obviously there's a physicality to it. Is there what's the other side of it, the other coin?
It was funny because I actually didn't put a movie down that I probably should have, which is actually probably my favourite movie, but I completely forgot about it.
Bring it up. We'll talk about it now.
It's actually called Louis Cyr. It's actually a French-made movie on a guy named Louis Cyr, who is basically the original strongman. Okay. He's a circus strongman from the late 1800s. So they did a story on his life, and I've watched that movie into the 20 to 30 times. Okay. I watch it before big competitions and stuff like that to see what somebody did so many 100 plus years ago 200 years ago, doing feats of strength and stuff like that, traveling the world, all that type of stuff, but seeing his mental side of things. So I guess for me, sitting down and watching something like that with so much passion, so much just raw emotion in it is really big for me. So like when I pull the train or plane or anything like that, I try and get as much emotion into what I do as possible.
Yeah.
Because you can put me in front of a train and I look very, very small. You turn around and look at that and you go, I can't do it. You might as well just step off the tracks and just try and do something else with your life.
Yeah.
Because you will never, ever get something moving if you don't believe you can do it. My biggest thing is to sit there and go, you know what, if this doesn't happen, I will never get this opportunity again.
Yep.
I've let down all these hundreds or thousands or people watching on TV, could be millions of people watching you. I've let them all down and my family down and all that type of stuff. So I put myself up to the point where I just go, you know what, this has to be done.
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. I was always, because when you watch weightlifters or even like footage of you like pulling those things, it's like the look in your face of you've got the determination of someone that, I couldn't even think. Like you can tell that like you're just of that moment, and it's just I was wondering how you get to there. So it's just
music is big for me. As I was just saying before, I love the Rat Pack. I love Frank Sinatra. My Way is probably one of my favourite songs.
Yeah.
I'm half Scottish, so I love the pipes and I love that type of stuff. Anything that heightens my emotional for some reason is a very strong way for me to go about.
And is it a positive? Because some people they. Do you use a positive place to get to, or do you use like sort of like a? Yeah,
I use a very positive way because I've got such a broad mix, as you probably look through my movies and go, man, he's got the biggest broad mix of movies. My music's worse. So I love Ice Cube, man. I think Ice Cube's the best.
Ice Cube's great.
But I like Frank Sinatra. I like Andre Rieu, man. That's how far I'll go the other way. You know what I mean? I think his music's great. I will go all those different ways. I think NWA is good. I've got this big, huge mix between music, but all of it means something to me in some way.
Yeah. I'm so terrified we're destined to be enemies because we are opposite in every way. Because spite drives me. Like, I'd be like, I'm going to do this because I hate you all. Like, you all think I can't do it, but I'm going to do it. Whereas you're like... Thanks, guys. I'm going to move this.
Don't get me wrong. Sometimes it can be that where I've had moments where I know people have, when I first pulled the train up in Mount Barker, I knew there was people that, one, didn't actually want to see me do it, and two, didn't think I could do it. So don't get me wrong. There was some side of me that's going, I'm going to prove you wrong because I have to. But I just turned it in a positive way, I guess, because that's just the type of person I am.
Well, I mean, that's important too, because especially because you were talking just before we started about how you've got a lot of young fans that come out and watch you do this, and you want to be the positive role model. So it's like, it's good that you've got that, so they can sort of go, that's the determination.
Yeah, I just don't want to be that big dummy that people think strongmen are.
Yeah,
we get a pretty bad rap for one, just being big steroid junkies. Two, just being big dummies. I think to break that stigma is one thing I work very hard to try and do.
Yeah,
to try and come across as intelligent and well spoken rather than just the whole time on the radio or whatever.
What was that? What was it saying on the radio? Like people on the radio.
He thought you were having a shot at
him. I'm sitting in my mouth open going, "What? I didn't. I swear to God."
Just take it.
Roger.
If you want a new thing for your website, you could be knocked out on air.
Somebody get the camera.
No, don't even.
No, I want to see it now.
So, like, basically, you were talking about your favourite film all the time that you didn't put on the list. What was it called again?
Louis Cyr.
So do you go to a competition and, like, all the other guys have got, like, pump and iron going on, like, their phones and stuff, and you've got, like, a projector set up with, like, an actual projecting that on the wall, and there's a gramophone in the corner just playing it?
Don't tempt me, man. These are the things that needs to happen in the future.
You've got to stay on brand. You have to stay on brand when you're imaging.
You're giving me so many good ideas. You and me
do
will
it.
talk after.
No.
You guys MC, man. I need you guys at my show. Top hat on, the big black mo, the suit, the full, big megaphone.
I want you to go to the sports store and get those stationary stands for push bikes And that's when your penny farthing's got to come in. You've got to warm up.
Here comes John, and he's coming out there. Bully.
Before we go into the next song, just a quick live read and a shout out to our good friend Shannon from High Fidelity, because he's the reason we are talking about this. We are talking about the annual Rec Link Community Cup coming up. It's on every year, where musicians take on members of the local media in a footy match to help raise money for disadvantaged Australians. The game is on Sunday, August 4th at the Norwood Oval. There will be food stalls, live music and plenty of activities to keep the kids busy. Tickets are only $5 and all proceeds will help RecLink deliver arts and sports programs for Australians in need to come. So head along, cheer and get into the Adelaide Anchors as they take on the Rockatoos at Norwood Oval on the 4th of August. WOWFM is proud to support community services and organisations, and Shannon's going to be sticking true to his roots of being a teacher, because all his bones are going to break like chalk. That is my prediction. So make sure you head along and laugh at that. This is DVG. It is DVG 100.5 WOWFM, as we heard from the theme of Braveheart, because the next choice is 1995's 3-hour epic, directed by and starring Mel Gibson, who didn't sleep the entire time he shot this film and ended up having a breakdown right at the end. Why did you pick this amazing film?
This amazing film, just, it's just one of the things that speaks to my heart, I guess. I'm half Scottish. All the strongman shows I do has some sort of roots in Scotland at some point. Lifting the stones, throwing the caber, throwing the stones, all that type of stuff has got something to do with what we do. So everything that these guys did thousands of years ago, we do to this very day. What was one of the quotes from in the movie? The English don't let us train with swords, so we train with stones.
Yeah.
So that's just one of the coolest things that anyone could say that we'd love to use in a strongman comp, I think.
My dad's from Scotland, so our family watched this as recommended viewing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just
and even for him, because he was a quite conservative Scot, but it just brews up something inside every Scottish people you find. It's like Braveheart will just brew up something inside of him.
Oh yeah, you want to go out and cut an English person's head off, man.
You find that you start having an opinion on stuff. It's no, I don't like the English.
You pull out a claymore, man, and you start swinging at every Englishman inside a metre of you. Don't you worry. Yeah, it's just one of those movies where I think it just speaks to my heart, and I'm sure it speaks to a whole lot of other people as well, I think.
It is a visceral movie.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts, man.
I forgot how gory this movie was until I watched it earlier this year, and it's just... I must have seen a cut version, because some of that stuff I couldn't even remember.
This is one of those films, you had the likes of Last of the Mohicans, films like Dances with Wolves, all those bio-epic picks where their factual inconsistencies are what tore them apart because everyone cared so much. This film is so strong on every level, storytelling, direction. And I stand to this day, beyond all the controversy and everything that Mel Gibson has done, he is a flawless filmmaker. The way he makes films is second to none.
Apocalypto?
I actually haven't seen all of it.
That's another one I was like, it's just... Yeah, when he's into it, when he is into the source material, man, he makes a good movie.
He did my favourite thing that any director in the history of the world has ever done. When he released the first trailer for Apocalypto, there was a scene, a panning shot of all the tribesmen all standing ready for war, and he's standing with his arms around two of their necks in normal clothes with a cigar in his mouth, and he put that in the trailer. It's one of those things, blink and you'll miss it. But I'm just hilarious. See? We are kinsmen in that sense, because that's exactly what I would love to do.
Oh, that's just funny. You know what, the bad part about Mel, I just keep thinking back to South Park where they ripped him off hard on that episode. That's all I picture when somebody goes, Mel Gibson, I'm like, South Park.
I heard a story about him this week.
Yeah, right.
Apparently, he was talking to this writer about doing Payback 2. They wanted to do a follow-up to it, so he went to the...
of all these films, that's
and the writer went to his office, and apparently he had the flu, and he was not going to do it. But he said Mel Gibson probably won't see me anyway. And then apparently right on the dot, he was on time, and he said, "Oh, what's wrong?" He's like, "I got the flu." And apparently he got this concoction. He's like, "Sniff this," and he said, "I sniffed it, and my nose burned." And he's like, "And then do this," and then 5 minutes later, his flu was gone. It was like Mel Gibson cured me.
touch Mel Gibson.
And then
Gibson
we talked about 70s heist films for the next 2 hours, and then nothing happened. So, you know, man of many talents and misfires as well.
And this film was like a cultural phenomenon when it came out in 1995 because you couldn't turn on the TV like The Simpsons, anything like that, without seeing someone's face half painted blue.
Yeah.
It's been quoted and parodied. It is such a good film. And it's also... It's just a good story as well. Like, beyond all the pomp and circumstance, all the sets, all the fighting, everything, all the choreography, it's just a good story.
Well, you come to one of the last scenes where they're all on the hill. You know, William Wallace has been killed. Robert the Bruce turns around and goes, you know, you bled with William, will you bleed with me?
Yeah.
And William's best friend pulls off the sword off his back and then just pegs it out into the field. Then all you just hear the crowd just go, Wallace! And it's just one of those moments where even now the skin, the hair stands up on your skin, and you just want to, like I said, go out and just do whatever you do to the best of your ability. And I know they're doing a movie now on Robert the Bruce.
Yeah, right.
That one's coming out.
Is that Chris Pine?
Yeah, Chris Pine, yeah.
So that's
it came out, I think it's already out.
That's already out.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, I think.
Yeah, they're doing one on, I think, from Barrackburn, which was one of the last war that England and Scotland had, after. So it's basically a follow-on from Braveheart.
Yeah, I was just like, you know, I haven't hated the English for a while. I'm going to watch this again. Isn't it funny? Like,
they're going to just keep spinning off till it's just two Glaswegians in modern-day street just punching each other in the face.
Groundskeeper Willie punching on with the other one.
It's funny because, like, and from different perspectives, because, like, if you remember, because we did a podcast on the show, we did Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and in that movie, the Sheriff of Nottingham gets the Celts from the north, and they're just like these like savages that can't even speak properly. And then like a few years later, they
were cavemen.
They were basically cavemen.
Like Scotland to me.
Yeah. I was like, and
halfway
I
through the movie, like 20 Encino Mans turn up,
and I remember saying to Dad, like, "Is that the same people that talk about in Braveheart?" He's like, "Yeah." But this one's Braveheart's a bit more accurate. They're not.
the Highlands, and funnily enough, if you go back from where my family is in Scotland, it's the Highlands.
Yeah.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Now, the next film on your list is from 1987, and it stars Paulie's favourite person from films, Kevin Costner in The Untouchables from 87, Sean Connery. Still makes me quite upset thinking of Sean Connery in this film. Tell us why you picked it.
It's triggering watching him drag his bloody corpse through to find his little locket and stuff. Yeah,
I love Sean Connery.
Yeah,
that's it. I love Sean Connery.
Next film.
Can I say a few words?
Please.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Do you still love Connery?
I don't care what Sean Connery does, mate. He was James Bond, man. He is just. You know, Kevin Costner's great. The lineup's great. Al Capone with... Again, you look up at the lineup of guys in this movie. Yeah. Again, probably not the most precise movie to all the times and everything like that.
The Capone bits of this movie are still the bits that irk me. I don't know why. I think he played them too cartoonish.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the movie was strict in one point. But again, if you look at history, the way history was, this movie is nothing like what history is. It's a complete... change to that, but it's a movie, and again, the actors in it they're just so, mate, you just look at the lineup again, you know.
Yeah.
Sean Connery in this plays such a straight dude, down the line guy that's just wanting to go hard, and Kevin Costner again even straighter, but Sean obviously has that idea in his head where I am straight in what I do, but you want to do this properly, this is the way you have to do it. The Chicago way.
There's a bit in the cottage just on the other side of the Canadian border when they're doing that. Like, that's my favourite scene of the movie because that's when you see how brutal Sean Connery can be. Like,
popping the
dude that's already dead and all that stuff. Yeah, it's just like.
And I love this because you go through when they're going through the town scenes and everything like that, and you see the cars that are driving around like that.
Yeah.
In my shed, I've got the exact same car that's in these movies. I've got the exact same car Al Capone drove. You know, I've got the V8 version. He had the V16 with bulletproof.
And you're like, I've got syphilis.
Yeah. Except it hasn't kicked in enough yet, so my brain's still here for now. But give myself time. I should peg away at that one.
That person that takes anything from history is like, where's the worst part of this?
100%. That's why I passed
Tax
high
returns,
school.
tax evasion, syphilis.
That's why I passed high school.
You were like aching your chair. I'm going to bring up the syphilis parts.
I love it. Out of the millions of dollars Al Capone made, the millions of dollars, the sweets, the money, the food, the drink, syphilis is the thing I will remember.
You should have seen my notebook from high school. It was troublesome to say the
You
least.
just had those S's all the time that everyone draws, don't you?
Still do.
If I do syphilis, I can do two of them.
There will be one somewhere in this notepad. Tonight we're looking at your top 10 films of all time.
Yeah.
Going off your list and what you've had to say about the likes of Braveheart and The Untouchables, is it safe to say that before you got to your 20, Highlander would come up? Or not?
No.
Wow. Okay. Because
have you watched Highlander recently?
Seeing a French Canadian play a Scottish man and a Scottish man play a Spaniard, pretty interesting film.
We're going to do Highlander on the podcast because that is not a movie that has stood the test of time.
I don't think it would have.
I think I watched it once. And
Let's just play Queen for some reason.
100%. We're going to get back into the music as we continue the countdown here on DVG. It is 100.5 WOWFM, Dave's Video Graveyard, 9:20 in the PM. Don't forget, coming up at 10 tonight, we've got the Emerald Tower with Krez. It's going to be a great show, so make sure you stick around for that one. But right now, we continue through Jordan Biggie Steffens' top 10 favourite films of all time, and we're back in the year of 1998, my golden era, and we are talking about what I also consider to be a game changer, because for the next 5 years after this film came out, every film was trying to be this one. We are talking about Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. Why did you pick this amazing film?
Vinnie Jones is hilarious, to say the least.
I still watch his movies. He got enough credit from this film for me that I'll still watch his movies.
Oh, mate, everyone just... I loved the comment he made. He's like, I'm not actually that much of a hard ass in real life. I just play one in the movies. That's all I am. I'm like, mate, you are a hard ass in real life. Don't give me that.
I've seen him headbutt.
Oh, yeah, man. He's just like, he is hard as nails. This movie's just England gangster all the way, but just so out there and just, really, really cool, man.
And
Had
it's
a
when the
gangster
words...
in it.
Yeah.
Lenny McLean.
Yeah, Lenny McLean, the boxer, bare knuckle boxer. I love Lenny McLean.
I got
as
his
well.
bio. It's really, really good.
Poor dude passed away not that long after this was filmed.
Yep.
And it also, basically, this is back when a time when the words Guy and Ritchie weren't swear words when you were talking about a film. It wasn't a negative.
And Jason Statham, no one knew who the hell he was.
Because we all went and saw his Robin Hood, didn't we?
Well, a lot of people are going to seeing his Aladdin.
Good time.
Made so much.
This film is so good, and it really kickstarted like the that whole crime caper trope. So you got a lot of the spin-offs that weren't as good. Even Guy Ritchie couldn't recapture the magic after he did Snatch in 2000, which we'll be talking about shortly. But the likes of Rock and Roller, the likes of Revolver with Jason Statham, even Lucky Number 11, Smoking Aces, all those ensemble crime things, they were all trying to capture the greatness of this film. And it's got the dude from the Press Gang in it, which we're always happy to talk about.
I remember seeing this film, and I still distinctly remember seeing it in the cinemas and walking out and thinking, there's movies where you go like that has changed my perspective on film. Like, I mean, I think I hadn't laughed. I mean, the soundtrack is amazing. Awesome sort of English soundtrack. It's just so grimy. There's a yellow sheen over this movie that's just like gritty and cool. The jokes are funny.
It's washed out much like 1992's The Commitments. It looks like it was shot on the backlot of it's just grimy and washed out in a great way.
Just the interconnecting stories. I mean, a lot of people would say like it's obviously a Tarantino infused sort of movie, but like I think it's raised itself above that because it's generally sort of it's interlocking stories done well.
Yeah, it's just English style. You feel like you're in an English slum. You know, when you're watching it, you literally get so invested in the style of the
And what I find funny is, like, a lot of people think, oh, that's where Statham became the tough guy. And it's like, well, no, because in neither of these two films is he the tough guy in it. I think the first thing I saw him in where he was the tough guy was him as Monk in Mean Machine, which I absolutely love that film as well because of Vinnie Jones.
Great movie.
Much like I love Eurotrip, not just because of Vinnie Jones, but I love that movie. I recently have been... My wife wasn't really into movies that much. She enjoys movies, but she only kind of stayed in her lane. If Tom Hanks wasn't in it, she hasn't seen it.
Fair enough.
So I've been showing her all the films that I consider classics. So we did pretty much most of your list. So we did the likes of Goodfellas and that. And it's only been recently that we watched Lock, Stock and Snatch. Unfortunately, I kept pushing it because I love Gerard Butler and I made her watch Rock and Roller. And she goes, oh, that wasn't very good, was it? I'm like, no, don't consider it the same. She goes, but you made me watch it the night after I watched Snatch. I'm like, I'm sorry. I just wanted to show you the trajectory of the arch of this film. Snatch was your next choice.
Yeah, Snatch along that same line. Just Brad Pitt being in the underground boxing style. The gypsies,
the Parkies,
the Parkies were just... It's funny because I know a few gypsy guys that live in Sydney, strongman guys from Ireland.
Yeah.
And I remember going to Australia's Strongest Man back in 2011, talking to this guy. His name's Paddy. He's like 6'6". He's like 195 kilo. He wasn't competing, just watching. And he started talking to me, and I've looked at him and just gone, Snatch. Dads.
Periwinkle Blue.
And then I've looked at, Periwinkle Blue voice, and I'm sitting there going, Paddy, don't talk to me anymore. I can't handle this anymore.
I picked up my kids about a month and a half ago at school, and we walked to our car, and the boys raced to the car, first one to touch it. And they both run and touched it, and another kid in their class saw him. So he ran over and put his hand on the thing. And my youngest son is like, don't touch my dad's car. And the kid goes, it's a free country. And my eye just started twitching to not say the line from Snatch to a 6-year-old kid.
There's so many one-liners. That's probably what makes this movie just long-lasting forever, is just the amount of one-liners that come out, And
I think that's what Rock and Roller didn't have. It didn't have the wit that these two films have.
You turn around and go, any sugar? No, Turkish. I'm sweet enough. You can pull that one out whenever the hell you want. A coffee at a Macca's, man, you pull it out.
Brick Top is one of the best villains of film, I reckon, because he's sort of he's pretty cutthroat, but he's very, very funny.
Much like the characterization of John Jarratt in Wolf Creek, where very, very evil, different kind of evil, but very, very evil. But there's something comforting in how familiar their part of the personality is, because it's like he's almost like your lovable uncle.
Well, because
he's also a psycho.
I think because they shared a lot of the cast of because he was the bartender in Lock, Stock, and then you also got obviously Jason Statham. But it was like those movies just interconnect so well. I was actually, when I was watching, I was like, I bet there's little nods to it.
They feel like extended universes. Honestly, you wouldn't be surprised if one of the characters showed up.
Was this Benicio del Toro's one of his first?
No, he rocked the 90s, all the 90s.
Okay,
he was in that movie with Alicia Silverstone in 1995, Excess Baggage.
Oh God! Wow. Bing! Yeah, that's the Google for Excess Baggage. Someone talked about it.
First one since 2002. So how far did you go in the crime dramas? Are these the pinnacle, or you love all of them?
These ones are probably the ones. I'm a massive fan of Sopranos, and all that type of stuff. I'm Boardwalk Empire.
Yep.
I love Boardwalk Empire.
So
I think that movie's
Michael
great.
Shannon.
I just love those type of movies again.
Do you remember my pinnacle Sopranos is when Paulie and Chris get stuck in the snow looking for the
when
Russian?
They're trying to kill the Russian dude.
God, that is one of my top 10 TV episodes of anything ever.
Yeah, he's an interior decorator. Yeah, he killed 10 Chechens.
It's so good. It's just that sort of them two together in the
Oh,
snow.
they're just polar opposites. It'd be like you and me if we got caught together.
Yeah.
Just polar opposites. You'd be doing it for the sake
love
of
that
trying to
one,
kill
and I love-
someone.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for happiness, you know?
And I love the early one early on when Tony takes his daughter to college campuses, but he's
Chases the dude, the
my Lord,
informant.
that's so good.
Absolutely.
That set the scene so well in season 1.
Yeah, no, these ones are just... they're just actually, you know what? They're all really different in their own ways, but they're very similar. Like, I guess going through all the ones with Al Pacino, I was watching a doco on him talking about how when he was in The Godfather as a young kid coming through to Donnie Brasco in the end, it was kind of like the start of his career in gangster movies and the end of his career in gangster movies, and his whole life in between the two.
And then you watch him motorboat Adam Sandler and Jack and Jill. And
Which
you're like,
just puts you over
how
the
much,
edge, man.
how much debt are you
Stop
in?
it.
No, I'm going to bring up that film all the time.
Because I think, because he tended to, after Donnie Brasco, he was more the cop or the good guy. Like, I don't think
there
he
was
did a lot of the gangster anymore. I mean, coming up,
There was a really bad movie with John Cusack and Pacino. He did that really fantastic one with Robin Williams, Insomnia.
Insomnia is amazing.
That's a great Pacino turn as well. I think that might be his last great film.
If you put that with Heat, I reckon that's just that character could could be Jack Hanna, basically. They send him up to Alaska to get off the coke. Pacino is just he hasn't done like a lot of bad stuff. We don't talk about Jack and Jill anymore, but you know.
He sings that Dunkachino song in that Adam Sandler movie.
Oh my god.
We might get back into the music here on DVG. 100.5 WOWFM, Dave's Video Graveyard, as we round out the top 10 of Jordan, Biggie Steffens. And basically, if you want to let us know what you think, jump on our Facebook, Dave's Video Graveyard at WOWFM, and let us know where you would like to meet Jordan for a fight, because he's not ready to go home yet, so he's ready for a fight. Can I be your promoter?
I'm surprised I'm still here and you guys will let me hang around this long. Maybe it's because I'm just holding onto the seat and you can't get me out.
Yeah, Paul, throw him out. Throw him out. Get him out. The next film you've picked is from the year 1997, starring Al Pacino and Johnny Depp. We are talking about Donnie Brasco.
Cool movie. Donnie Brasco is actually a very good base movie on exactly what life was like at that period of time in the mob. Johnny Depp plays such an awesome role, you know, going in and out of such a lifestyle where he's a mobster one day, he is next day a family man, and having to be just such a just a mental nightmare for him just as a person. And from the actual Joseph Pistone, he said he played his role as his life really, really well and very, very accurate, which is not easy for an actor to do when they haven't lived that life.
True. I mean, and say what you want about Depp, he does, there's some roles where he does just own it. And
when he wants to be there, it shows.
Oh, yeah.
And it's magic. When he doesn't, it's that movie where he becomes a computer ghost.
What
is that movie called?
Transfigure or something, transport. Yeah, something like that. I hold this film in the regard of the one where Michael Madsen's not a complete piece of shit. He's not.
That does narrow it down too.
He's actually acting in this movie. He's not just they just didn't catch him on his lunch break and it's that's just a Michael Madsen scene. He's generally acting and good in this movie. I dig it.
This film belongs, I haven't scrolled down. We're looking at the IMDb right now. If we scroll down now, surely Goodfellas is in the people also liked, because it's so similar in a lot of ways. I had to ask, thinking about this, do you like Narcos?
I actually haven't seen Narcos on Netflix.
Yeah, right.
I haven't
because
seen Narcos on Netflix.
It has a very Donnie Brasco vibe to a lot of it.
I heard it's really, really good. Good.
It's not on the list. For people that like this film, they should like Carlito's Way.
Good movie.
Serpico.
Bronx Tales are good. If you want a more less of a actiony but more drama,
Bronx Tales.
Bronx Tale and Once Upon a Time in America.
Yeah. If you want that stuff, I think it's even longer than Godfather movie. This is the one that really started off the whole forget about it, because there's a bit, that's that scene where Donnie Brasco's in the van with the dudes,
talking about
how you talk mafia. Forget about it, and it's like, you gotta it's that, and like, again, with stuff like mafia and like the satirical sort of movies,
you've pretty much picked the entire character development of Fat Tony from The Simpsons this evening.
My favourite member of The Simpsons, right?
It's where he draws all his inspirations from. So for anyone that hasn't seen, Donnie Brasco is basically about an FBI agent that goes undercover with the mob, but starts really enjoying what he's doing. And it's basically about him blurring the line between who he is as the undercover cop and actually being in the mafia.
Especially if you listen to his, documentary talks after actually living that life, how close he got to actually just switching, because he just didn't know which life was going to be better. His home life was getting worse. There was a war inside all the families at the time where people were just getting killed left, right and centre. He was, at any time, as anyone says, if they were to find out who he was, there's no movie on him. There's nothing on him. He ain't here no more. He's chopped up in a million pieces, goodness knows where.
Yeah.
So it's one of those risky things as a person he did, but look at his life now. He's looking over his shoulder the rest of his life because he's not in witness protection anymore. But again, from what everyone has said, the movie has been really well done in the sense of, unlike Untouchables, more of a movie that is to history and to very much sort of standard of what life was like.
And this is a much less known film, I find. Like, when you look, if someone's to make a big list of mafia movies, I think maybe 2 in 10 would put this on there. Like, it doesn't seem to come up as much as the other tentpole mafia films.
No, not as, your Godfathers are always there. Even Untouchables is always there. Goodfellas is always there. Those ones, Bronx Tales, etc., etc. This one would be one, if it's there, it'd be number 10 out of the list.
Yeah.
It's not number 1 and nowhere near it. But as a movie, I think it's a cracker. Absolute cracker.
Awesome. Do you revisit this one a lot?
Yeah, I do. This is one of the go-to ones for me. Like, if I'm sort of like, all right, I want to sit down and watch a movie, and I've peaked it a week in advance, to be like The Godfather. I can sit down for 3 hours because I've got a 3-hour span and go, you know what, I'm just going to dig through this right now. This one's one I can sort of look through all my stuff and go, you know what, I've got some time. Bam, crank it on and watch it,
Yeah.
And have you ever stomped someone for asking you to take your shoes off?
Not in a Chinese restaurant, I haven't.
Out on the footpath, then.
Yeah, exactly. Before I walked in the door, but I wasn't wearing cowboy boots at the time anyway.
That's all you were wearing.
You can leave your hat on.
Yeah. Nice. Oh man, this film, Paulie, you a fan?
Brasco, yeah. It's probably one of my. I don't like a lot of Johnny Depp movies, like
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Nah, like
Cry Baby,
From Hell. I think is my the other one that I really like. It's just I don't like a lot of his stuff. Like, I'm not
21 Jump.
I'm not a Fear and Loathing guy. I've never have been. Like, I just don't dig that movie that much.
I am constantly getting people saying, for the podcast, you guys have got to do. Is it The Buffalo Men and
Buffalo Soldiers?
Yeah. It's the same story of Hunter S. Thompson on that weekend, but it's not the Fear.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I've got no time for either of those films.
Yeah, look, I mean, I was just there. Yeah, I don't know. Like, some people dig him. I think he's got coasted through on a lot more than actually acting prowess. But yeah. Now,
a lot of the films you picked this evening, I feel like you go down the path of being a fan of Oliver Stone. Are you a fan of his films, the likes of Natural Born Killers, or even I didn't mind Savages that came out a couple of years ago? Have you seen either of those films?
I haven't seen Savages. It's one of those ones where, like,
do not talk about the President movie, Paul. Just because we're talking about Oliver Stone, you don't get to talk about Kevin Costner's film.
Natural Born Killers was good. It's not one of my sort of top 10 movies. That was one of the ones I sort of, again, having my brother a fair bit older than me, was where I sort of saw that one. It's one of those things that even like, because he had...
did The Doors...
Platoon,
yeah.
That's the one, yeah. There's another one as well, again, just,
Born on the 4th of July and stuff like that.
Yeah. So,
oh man, that movie's depressing.
It's one of those things where I guess I was lucky to have an older brother, because I sort of learned a lot of these types of movies from that, so I can thank my older brother for something.
Now, before we move on, we'll have time before we get to the end to do your final film. What are your honourable mentions? Say you had to make a list of 20. You've touched on a few.
TV included.
Yeah. TV included.
Cartoons included.
Okay, so we chuck in there, as I said, probably Sopranos and Boardwalk Empire.
Yep.
Space Jam.
Yeah.
You guys have put me on the spot. Something fierce now. Probably Bronx Tale as well is a great movie.
Do you watch The Wire at all?
No.
If you dig the crime.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is the most Biggie TV series ever. It is. If you put all your films in a blender and then had Michael Chiklis's ugly face, is he in it? No. Who's the bulldog?
No, that's he's in The Shield. This is
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, it's why, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. Is it Shot Call that's just come out recently? The one where they're talking about the white supremacy group in prison? The guy that was like a stiff, straight Q guy, and then just got... I like that movie. That movie's got a nice little bit of psychological in it where you just don't see some stuff coming in that one. Once We Were Warriors was a good movie as well.
That was on NITV on Thursday night. Me and my wife rewatched it, and... It is filmed in a way where, other than when they're driving looking for Gracie in the car, and you see the ages of the car, that film could have been made this week. That's how timeless everything else in that film is.
Yeah, Once Were Warriors is a good movie. Then you just go into sort of The Dish and stuff like that are cracking movie. I watched that the other day, man. The Dish is one of those movies because I was young when it came out.
Yeah.
I watched it, and then I watched back through it recently and went, that is piss funny. There is parts in that movie that is absolutely fucking hilarious. The Matrix is good, that's the... Smith in The Matrix is just...
What is a film that you love that would surprise people to find out you love it? Other than How to Make an American Quilt.
Wow.
Where did that come from? I think I just had a mini stroke. I don't know why those words came out of my mouth.
Well, they did, so, I don't know.
Are you a Star Wars fan?
No.
No, or like the Marvels? Like, have you like the?
Oh yeah, so I've seen a lot of the Marvels movies and stuff like that. I don't know if they're type of movies that people would really freak out thinking that I'd watch. Like that.
I was wondering if
Where do you stand on horror? Because there's no horror in your list.
No,
not a fan.
No, I just can't get into
horror movies. You could
take
Jason Voorhees and Michael. It's like, why are they just punching them?
Mate, because I'd be too scared to keep my eyes closed. Horror movies. No, I don't know. I think horror movies is a certain type of movies. It's for any type of taste, it takes a certain type of movie to like anyone, but
yeah,
I guess the thrill's taken out. Like, I always love breaking bits of gyprock like with a karate chop, knowing that you could do that with actual structures. It probably changes your idea of fear.
Oh, I've got to send you the video of me punching through some bricks. That's the next.
I bet that exists.
Yeah, it does. I did it at a show actually at the Scouts thing up that we had here in Adelaide, but I guess I'm just so... With movies, I'm pretty straightforward, man. I know what I like type thing. So, I guess if that was the top 20... I like the older cartoons, like... I like the Space Jams and stuff like that. And then you even go back to, like, some of the old, like... Popeye ones and stuff like that. I've got all the Popeye series from number 1 through to, like, 200 and something. They are racist, man.
Yeah.
Like, I went back through some of the ones that were when it was at war.
Yeah.
Matey, they don't hold back.
I had so many... You know those... You used to get those for like $3 in a bargain bin. The VHS of like... It was always called like Looney Tunes and Friends. And so you had
crappy
like...
pink background with a crappy picture.
So you had you had a Superman cartoon. It was always the same one where he catches the giant plane. Right up your alley. And then you get the ones where Bugs Bunny is like shipwrecked on an island and starts picturing everyone else as like, then there's two cannibals and it's super stereotypical.
Yeah.
And then there's one where he gets put in the firing squad and he ends up wishing he was in Dixie and basically turns into a minstrel at the end of it. And you're like,
Oh
good
my God,
job.
I've got them on VHS. They were like ones that were given to my brother as a kid.
Yep.
I've got that exact same one where he's going to get shot at. That is amazing. Yeah, it's that one. Yeah, it says Bugs Bunny at the top, crappy picture in the middle, white background case on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. He's on a plane at one point where he's flying downwards at like 1,000,000 miles an hour. The face is pulling back and the plane runs out of petrol just before it hits the ground.
Yes,
and
that's
stops just there.
Yep.
It is hilarious. I love those old ones as well. They are great. Absolutely.
Well, you're not opening up the way we want. What is one film that you own that people would give you crap for owning?
Blockers?
Yeah, right.
Blockers.
I love that. How does that film keep coming up on his
I don't know.
show?
I thought that movie was hilarious.
Because John Cena does a butt shot and it's amazing.
Butt chug.
Oh my lord.
Hilarious. Absolutely.
I googled in that movie way more than I should have. But yeah.
Now, while we're talking about highbrow art house humour, your final choice this evening, tell us what it is. Do you remember what it is?
No,
Grown
you
Ups.
so got me on my...
From 2010.
This was the movie that everyone wouldn't have picked that I would have had.
100%.
Guaranteed this. I reckon if I told this to my closest friends, which at this point in time is now Paul and Dave, no one would pick it. No one would pick it because, as you just saying before, you giggled in a movie way too much than you should.
Yeah.
I reckon I could sit in the corner and like laugh like a schoolgirl at this movie. I think everything in this movie is funny, from when he like cripples himself and all he does is sit there and go woo with his hands up in the air. Steve Buscemi's great. Like even Adam Sandler, who hasn't done a good movie since like Billy Madison, since Happy Gilmore, he's actually hilarious in this as well. I just think these are just so many good comedians come together to actually turn back the clock a little bit.
And the story behind this is basically Happy Madison were given the green light to make a film. And Adam Sandler, even his bad movies, make a good profitable return.
It's Adam Sandler.
So, yeah, they're like, well, do what you want. So he's like, well, we're going to go film on these. So this started the run of Adam Sandler making all these films in exotic locations just for the sake, because he always puts his kids in the movies. He always puts his wife in his movies. He puts all his mates in his movies. He's living the dream. Like, I can't even hate him for what he does. Everyone hates him for a lot of, like, what his comedy has become. But really, it's no different than the trajectory of, like, the films of Eddie Murphy. Like, it comes to a point where it's like, all right, I've given this all I can. Now I'm going to enjoy myself.
He's done his time. He's earned his stripes. Man, Happy Gilmore was great.
Yeah.
You know, Billy Madison was great. All these old school movies that I think people almost brush over now. He deserves a green light, man, and he's got it. He's got Shaq in the movie. Mate, Shaq is great.
I honestly thought off the back of Grown Ups that they would reboot Police Academy with Shaq as Hightower because he plays the cop and he straight up looks like Hightower.
You know what happened? It's like Super Troopers that came out again. I don't know what you guys think of Super Troopers 2. I love number 1.
I love number 1, and part 2 is maybe the worst film I picked last year.
Wow, you reckon it's that bad?
Yep.
I was not the biggest fan.
And it's Will Sasso's fault too.
I saw it. I didn't go to the movies and see it. I was like, you know what? This won't be that good. I need to go to the movies and see it. So I waited for it to come out. Got it, watched it. Just thought they went too hard, or they tried to go too hard, and they just
put it with. Do you remember when they did Sin City, and then like 7 years later they did Sin City 2? It's just like you did it too late. Like,
you missed the boat.
Super Troopers 2 would be the same. It's like instead of like they did a couple of like movies, like they did Slam and Salmon, and they did what's the one on the island?
Baby Makers and Club Dread
sort of thing. They should have done a second one. And I know, but it's just too far in between drinks, and it's just like, I just don't know if I'm really just sort of.
Well, they even did the rip-off in Dukes of Hazzard, where they're...
Well, because the guy directed it and
so
stuff.
they still did the little bits of dribs and drabs in other movies where you're like, I know that's from your movie, it's funny, but like you said, did the ship sail to
Father was doing a lot of the press for it, and it's like,
Father's supposed to be like the most terrible one out of all of them, and like they're all buddies.
Father's number one.
There is a movie they did. I believe it was called Freeloaders, and it had your mate from Counting Crows in it. It was about people living in his house.
Yeah, it was Adam Duritz' house. Yeah,
and the guy from Boondock Saints 2, which still upsets me to talk about that film. Sorry.
I saw someone on our page like take you down for putting Boondock Saints 2.
Belongs there. What did you think of John Wick?
I love John Wick. I love John Wick 2. Waiting for number 3.
I love all three of them.
Have you seen 3?
They're all the same movie, and it's great.
I've heard...
Don't ask Paul, because he hates Keanu Reeves a lot.
Why do you hate Keanu Reeves? He's in The Matrix, mate. He's a very pretty man. He is just a nice person in general.
The fact that they taught a hunk of wood to act, that's awesome.
He's a good-looking piece of wood, mate.
Yeah.
We can't all have evil Willem Dafoe eyes like your Michael Shannon has. He's just got his upsetting face.
He does, and I love it. I want to make him happy.
Speaking of Michael Shannon, I recently rewatched, I don't know why, Bad Boys 2. The white supremacist is the start. Michael Shannon. I'm like, of course it is.
Bad Boys.
I want everyone at some point this week to look up Michael Shannon watching the Oscars from a bar in Chicago. And it was like, shouldn't you be there? You're nominated. And he's like, I don't have to because I'm Michael Shannon.
All right, Biggie, you leave the studio tonight with the magic that rubs off when people come on our show.
It's not asbestos.
You
magic.
Or syphilis or whatever it is.
You should get checked. You're a lot more like a gangster, particularly Al Capone, after you leave the studio this evening.
I hope not, man. I really do.
The tax stuff.
Yeah, the $1 million.
Your trajectory goes up and up and up. 10 years from now, Jordan Biggie Steffens, the movie. Who is playing you?
Who was playing me? Someone with a severe eating problem, that's for sure. You know what? Someone who'd be playing me now, who's someone that just spends way too much time eating food. I just can't even think of someone. Who's the guy that played Father?
Oh my God. You nailed it. I'm sorry. I don't even That is a great bit of casting.
Shenanigans.
Yeah, shenanigans. Pistol whip him.
Still to this day, my favourite part of that entire film is when Father puts the bar of soap and no one pays it off. So the boss just bites into it and spits it in his face just to let him know that, yeah, they saw that he did the joke and it's terrible.
You know what? I don't know, do you guys remember the movie Beer Fest?
Yes.
Yeah.
You remember the two big juice monkeys that were the guys? Yeah, one of those boys can play me, man. That's all I can think of, man. I was just picturing myself, well, who's a big guy in movies? I think Arnold's is gone from the movies, and I don't think I'm anything like Arnold. So
WWE's Bray Wyatt could possibly play you at some
man.
stage.
I actually like Bray Wyatt's style too, man. What is he now, the Fiend or something like that? I like that, man. I think he's cool, man. I like that. I need a mask now.
Definitely.
I need to become a Fiend.
What do you got coming up, dude? And where can people check out your stuff?
Yeah, look, I'm on Instagram, so Jordan_Biggie. The King of the Circus, that's my main thing on Instagram.
And your website as well?
Yes, sir. So kingofthecircus.com.au. That has all my updates on what I've got coming up, what's up next. For me, it's a packed year. I've got a surprise event in September, which I have to keep a little bit quiet for now.
What is it?
I have to keep it quiet for now.
But what is it? Is it a syphilis awareness week?
If I've still got every little bit of my brain cells by then, I'll let you know.
Nice.
I probably should remember. I've just forgotten because of it. No, we have an event in September. You guys will be the first people to know, so you can share that love out to everybody.
Awesome.
But yeah, like I said, on my Instagram, on my Facebook, you can keep an eye on what I'm doing.
Sweet. And can you admit now on air, because obviously it was during a song and it's radio, so no one could see, I fully beat you in an arm wrestle with both arms?
Well, look, I've got to give in sometimes and admit the truth. You know what? I'll give you that one. I think you went a little bit early, but that's okay.
It's funny.
It's just a common thing for you.
It's the exact same tattoos that you've got on.
just like the Olympics, someone's got to win a silver. So, take your silver.
Oh, look, mate, I've had plenty of silvers in my time, so I'll take another one right now.
Nice. Dude, thank you so much for joining us. You're always welcome back. And make sure you check out those suggestions. And thanks very much.
Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for not kicking me out too early. And I've had an absolute ball on here. And guys, just keep tuning into this because it's absolutely awesome. Can't wait to come back.
Thanks, man.
Dude. This is DVG.